my friends out there. It's Rockin' Dave, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Thank you for tuning in. This is Shreddin Saturdays Live. Like Saturday Night Live. Little different though. Okay. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and thank everyone for leaving the comments on the for the amplifiers, that the amp A and amp B that we did. And the reason why I wanted to do something like that was to show you basically the difference. This whole dispute against does a multi-effect processor and the amp sims sound better than a guitar amp, or is it vice versa, or is it sake of convenience, personal taste, personal preferences, and it's gonna be a whole combination of all of that. Um, if you're doing a lot of live gigging, you're gonna see that um, the stages have diminished into hardly anything now, and you need as much space as you could possibly get. So bringing a whole lot of gear is not really going to be, how could I say, the way to go, depending on the space. That's why you see more and more little amps being sold. When you go to guitar centers and some of the big box stores, you don't really see that many stacks like you used to. Back in the day, yeah, especially back in the heyday, in the 1980s, we used to see all the Marshall stacks, my friends. Of course, I'm going to give a quick shout out to, ta-da, yeah, see? Always give credit where credit is due. And I'd like to give a shout out and a big thanks to Robert from Robert Guitar's Dungeon. He gave a shout out to my channel today as when he was going over his channel. He does a lot of guitar demos. Great guy. He's got a great cause going there with Share the Music. If people are not using any of their gear and they can't get rid of it, they sell it. They could donate it, or maybe they could sell it at a certain price. I'm not too sure how that works, but there are a lot of people that would love to play, and a lot of young kids who just simply can't get their hands on gear. So that's a great cause that he's got going on there. And I also would like to give him credit for the video he had on the other day, pertaining to people who maybe are feeling a little subconscious about themselves, putting up videos and things of that nature, giving them encouragement. Right here in this channel, we like to desire to inspire. We'll tell it like it is. We'll give everyone the flat out facts so that they're prepared when they go out in the real world out there. They're not snowballed into believing a fairy tale, because there's lots of fairy tales out there. So, yeah, but another thing is, when you have people that don't have big subscribers, huge numbers and things of that nature, I really personally don't look at that. I think it's great for Robert. He's approaching, I think it's 10,000 subscribers, and I really believe that he's been doing this organically, and then everything that he puts up, he comes out of his pocket. So that's why I give that guy a lot of credit, because he's the real deal. And so if you want, subscribe to his channel. I know we're gonna have some people. There's other people with their live chats right now, and I really encourage people to check everyone's channels out, because everyone has something to share. And it's always good to keep things positive. 9 Fathoms, how you doing, my friend? Watchman for you. I love that name. That's a really cool name, Watchman for you. It's got a lot of meaning. 9 Fathoms, you too, buddy. I really appreciate it. And yeah, what I was just saying is that for the people that want to discourage other people, I really don't acknowledge to that type. Everyone's entitled to have their opinions, but we like to inspire people to keep moving forward, because everything's opinionated. Like that great song, like one of the great Rolling Stones songs, "It's Only Rock and Roll," but I like it. Yeah, it is only rock and roll. We're not performing brain surgery here. And we have a great platform to keep our instrument alive. And that's what it's all about, my friends. Keeping rock and roll, keeping this going. So, but what else was I going to say? I'm sorry. Oh, we are going to be going live tonight. We are going to be doing our Shred Metal show tonight in our Lanai. RUI will be doing our live gig on Thursday. And October is right around the corner, and gigs are going to start picking up in the month of September and October a little bit. It does get a little bit slow. And we're back, my friends. But yeah, in the month of September especially, it is hurricane season. And it's great. An affordable fly rig and powered speaker and gig. Yeah, that's, hey, you know what? I appreciate that comment. It is really the person that is using this stuff, okay? And I say the things that I say to encourage people, to let them know that, hey, you don't have to have all this money. You don't have to have all this vintage gear. Avant-garde, how are you, my friend? Good seeing you. Thank you for tuning in. You don't need to have a whole lot of expensive gear. I mean, the Gibson, yeah, we paid some good money for it. The Warlock, yeah. This Blue Ibanez I found in the dumpster, which is incredible. This one I'm playing right now was under $400, and you see me do gigs with it, you know. And the reason why I say the things that I say is to help encourage people, to let them know that whatever your budget is, find a way that you can get a good sound out of that, of what you could afford, because ultimately it's you. The gear is going to help. You will get your sound out of stuff. You know, honestly, if this stuff was junk, they wouldn't be able to sell it. It wouldn't be deemed safe, safe to use, because it is electric, you know. But yeah, again, everything is personal preference. And the reason why I go the route that I go is because you'll see in my videos I do a lot of classical guitar playing. I'll do stuff with the acoustics. So if I could get most out of one, if I could get more out of less, then you come out ahead. Oh, no, don't worry about it, my friends. Don't worry about it. Yeah, some cheaper guitars have been some of my best playing and sounding guitars. That's right. And don't you think it's sad that when you could take a cheap guitar and it's reliable, and you do these, you're out there playing, it's reliable, you take something expensive, and then there's issues. And then there's issues with you being worried about damaging your expensive guitar. And that's why I look at what I could get out of that instrument. As far as value, it's going to be like if you're going to resell it, you know what I mean? Then I could see the, you're investing in something that you're going to turn around and sell later on in the future. And you're going to hope that it's going to be able to resell in the future, because, we always have recessions in life. And that's going to really dictate what's happening out there in the real world, But, I mean, for what it's worth, it's really not that bad at all. If you could do a lot out of less, you come out ahead, right? Thank you. Okay, let's see what we have here. I like to read the comments for your information. The Ibanez Geo. I had one of those. Yep. The one that has the plastic pickguard. Yeah, like a Stratocaster. Yep. Like has the best value in the guitar world. You can pick them up cheaper than peanuts, and they can. Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. Because I had a black Geo that did not have the pickguard, I think. Yeah. And then before that, I had a black one with a white pickguard and a maple fretboard. And both of them played effortlessly. Let's see. A really expensive guitar. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. How's it going, my friend? Good seeing you. Let's see, we have the Crafty Jake 1. Thank you so much for tuning in, buddy. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. And if you guys watch Joe Winch from the Joe Winch Project, sometimes that guitar he's always playing is really inexpensive. It doesn't really matter. It's the player, It is going to come down to the player. Now, I find this real interesting, and see what you guys think about this. Yeah, the pickups aren't the best, but yeah, they can be upgraded cheap enough. Absolutely. Absolutely. Once they're set up like it, yeah, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Definitely. I really appreciate it. I thank all my subscribers. I appreciate all my subscribers, and this platform we have is really really great for us. You know, it'd be a shame to see it go away. I don't think that will happen, but you know, things that could cause issues is some of the stuff that goes on out there that I don't even like to talk about. Yeah, the guitars and bass is coming out just before the Rosewood deck. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You will hold for the money. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right too, Watchman. I really think you're right there because of this whole situation with Woods. You see, I started playing guitar in the 1970s, 1974. Started buying gear, 1978. You know, sometimes it's so hard to track. I wish I would have kept the very first receipt. But I remember it was I had a Checkmate guitar that we got from the pawn shop and an amp that just would click. Oh, then one knob, click, volume. That's it. Little tiny speaker, about, you know, this big. And the first guitar that we bought was a Magnum Les Paul copy. Now this is the subject I want to ask you guys, what you guys think out there. There is all the bashing, I would say, on effect processors, and if they're cheap, nothing's gonna replace a tube amp. And you know, and to be honest, the tube amp has that warmth, that has that tone that you just cannot beat. Okay, but technology has definitely caught up hugely since when I started. And there's some people I wish I could take them back in time and say, okay, guys, now what could you do with this? And then they'll say, oh, now we understand, Dave. That really is primitive. I think that's what it would come down to. Them running into gear that really is primitive. And it's not knocking them or anything like that. But what I find interesting is they'll you know, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, but they'll look down on certain pieces of gear. But then recently I saw a video with the Fender Strat, American-made Fender Strat Yngwie Malmsteen Strat for $145. And the guy, I think his name is Guitar Max. He's a great guy. I you know, I like watching his stuff. And he said, but I always give a little shout out to the little German lady that helped us out with her tips. Yep, down here in Cape Coral, Florida. But he was saying basically the same thing about this Yngwie Malmsteen American-made Fender Strat. Had the Scout fretboard, $145. Great value. I will say that. Great value. That and the Chipsons or Chipsons, or you know what I mean. Oh, it does. You know what? Nine Phantoms. My Hughes and Kettner, it does have an effects loop. It has a jack for a foot switch, but I don't have the foot switch. That you got to buy separately. And an output for headphones. And it does have RCA inputs, you know, red and white, if you want to use backing tracks or anything like that. But the effects loop, which I'm glad it does, because you could always just put your delays, your digital delays, modulating effects, and an EQ pedal. What's nice with an EQ pedal, a graphic EQ, because I used to do this back in the day. At first I would the Boss GE7, it has a level. I would take the level and bring that up. But then one day, for whatever reason, I forgot to do that, accidentally bumped my mids. And what I found out, if you boost your mids, you'll cut through the mix. So, and if you run that into the effects loop, you'll do good. What I like to run in front of the amp is my TC Electronics analog delay, just to get that goofy spaceship sound, you know what I mean? Sounds pretty cool. Oh, okay. You have to run your effects processor through. Yeah, you know, here's the deal. I don't want to get too out of track. Okay, I'm gonna answer these questions in just a little bit. But going back with these fake Gibsons and that fake Fender Strat, the only reason why I would never buy that, never, no way, man, would I buy that, is because they're saying it's made in America. And what is their intent? Why can't they put their own name on it? When Ibanez made copy guitars, they had Ibanez on the headstock. If any of you guys remember Hondo guitars, my wife still has her Hondo acoustic. It said Hondo on it. Magnum Les Paul copy, it said Magnum. Court, it said Court. Memphis, it said Memphis. Lotus, it said Lotus. These were companies that were putting their own names on it. When we knew it was a copy, maybe they want to say, well, our stuff is good. And I'm not knocking it. Some of those Gibsons that look like a Gibson, they're really nice guitars, beautiful guitars, great value. But here's the problem: if a person is not wise enough, they could take one of those chips and customs, and they could tell somebody, hey, I fall on hard times. Or if a pawn shop is not aware of this, well, a pawn shop would give you $100. Back in the day, $100 for an American-made Gibson anyway. You might get 200, depends. But someone could sell that guitar for $800. They could say, I paid $2,000 for the guitar. I fall on hard times. I really need the money. I'll let it go for $800. Someone sees it. Wow, it's a Gibson. Oh yeah, USA made. They're in a hurry. See, life, everybody is in a hurry. No one really sits down unless they're going to do a major purchase like a house or a car or something. Then you're going to sit down, because we're talking tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But when it comes down to guitars, it's impulse buying. I got the money, go ahead and go for it. Then you find out it's not even American made. It's worth brand new, maybe $300. You see what I mean? It's the intent. And that's why I say the things that I say sometimes on this channel. I really am against people that have bad intent to rip people off. That's why there's no way I'd buy that guitar. I'm sorry, my friends. I could see an intent there. That's why it'd be like ripping you guys off. How stupid is this, It's not good, right? So let's see. Yeah. Oh, GTTV. What's happening, my friend? Good seeing you. Now, that being said, guys, if any of you think that you'd like to buy one of those guitars, you go right ahead. I will never tell a person what they should and shouldn't do. I only give you my personal experience, the advice I have from my personal experience. I am not the most experienced person out there on YouTube. I know that, okay? But I know I am definitely, in some of the chats that I have seen, I definitely have a lot of experience, because I started playing in 1974, and it was Christmas of 1974. I started playing in front of people. Some people say, Dave, that really doesn't count. That's assembly hall. That's school. Yeah, but there was like 300 people there. So, when's the last time you played in a club with 300 people? You see what I mean? I was 11 years old, and there's 300 people. Go figure, right? And it continued and continued and continued and continued. Now, I had times where I didn't stop playing. I just wasn't playing out because of work, and then put bands together, the whole shebang, everything. Been through all that. But, it's just interesting. I will never knock a person if they have no experience either, because everyone's got to start from somewhere. And what I think what's great about YouTube is that for people that maybe are a little bit bashful going out and playing, a little bit shy, or they don't want to go through the headaches of it, YouTube is a great platform. It is, you are performing when you put something up on YouTube. Plus, here's an advantage, and I for people who teach out there, this is something for them to think about as well. When you teach, part of teaching is to inspire people. And part of that inspiration will give them the confidence that they could go out and they could play in front of people, or that, in other words, give them the confidence that they could do it. But what stops people from moving forward is the fear of them making a mistake. And I'm telling you, everyone makes mistakes. So if you hit a wrong note, if you have a brain fart or something, when we put up all our live gigs, this is what's going on, this is how it is, things happen. I'm not saying I don't strive for perfection, but at the same time, if nothing goes my way, my perfect way, I'm not going to start bashing TVs and calling people names and, get all frustrated and break things. Really? You know what I mean? So, it's to inspire people. So let's see what we got here. Let's see, the guitars and bass are coming out just oh yeah, they will down the road. I definitely think they will. Okay. Do you have you run your effects process through the effects return in the? I have, and I've noticed there is a little bit of like a volume drop. So what you have to do is now you have to bring up the volume in your effects processor, and you can do it and like just a little bit, just so you make sure you're not going to overload anything. That's how you could tell. But when you do run it through the the effects loop into the return, you will get part of your effects. If you have the amp sims, this is what I use when I do that. I'll turn all my amp sims off and my EQ. I'll first turn the EQ off and see what I could get out of the amp, and if I need to bump EQ, then I'll put more EQ on the effect processor. But what I will do is turn the amp sims off, so it's just like adding effects. The only thing is the one I have has the built-in wah pedal, so the wah pedal through the effects loop, and it's okay. But my what I like to run in front of the amp, besides the wah pedal and my analog delay to get that spaceship sound, is my the Univibe effect, because I try to get as close to the Hendrix and Robin Trower sound, and I think they were just running it right into the amp, because back in the day some of those amps did not have an effects loop. It was just running straight into the amp. So you get a little bit of a unique sound out of that. Even some of the phase shifters. So, okay, you need to run the Digitech through the effects loop instead of through. Okay, yeah, you do have now. Here's the debate on this. So I see what you're saying, Nine Phantoms. The difference between a PA speaker and a guitar amp, the PA speaker is a true full range. That's why when you run an acoustic guitar through a PA speaker, it doesn't sound boxy. Even if I would run the acoustic guitar through any guitar amp. Now, granted, some are definitely gonna have a better tone than others. I mean, you would hope that if you're gonna spend $3,000 or $4,000 on an amp, you're gonna see the results of spending that money. But it is geared to a certain mid-range, whereas a PA speaker, it's got that full range. That's why you could get a more fuller sound. But now, a guitar amp, if you want that punchiness, you will get it out of the guitar amp. I agree with you. See, it really depends on what you're going to be using your gear for. And when I do my backing tracks live, I have to also take into consideration drums and bass, and so they don't sound too muddy or boxy. And now, there's people out there that will say, Dave, that's not for me, so I'd rather just go the guitar amp route. And I totally agree. Absolutely. Do what is going to be to your best interest. But for what I've had to do in the past and all the shows that we were doing, we made a whole hell of a lot of money out of this gear. If I want to put it in just terms as far as can you make a living as a professional musician using cheap gear, or what's deemed as cheap gear, my answer is, oh yeah, you can. It's how you approach everything. It's how you EQ things, and what you do. And granted, there's gonna be guitar players that's not gonna like it, and you might not like it as much. But if you were in these situations, my friends out there, if you were definitely in these situations, and this is what you had to deal with, and the gig is gonna pay you $500, $600, $700, $800 to do a couple hours, I don't think you're gonna want to turn that down. And then on top of it, they like your music. They like what you could do. See, that's like a double plus in your corner right there, because now you're getting hired out for you, and this is what starts your signature sound. This is what starts your popularity as you as an individual, not what cover bands you could play or cover songs. And we all go through that, and I'm not knocking it. When I'm with our UI, we do a lot of that, okay? So when you're in those situations, you're going to find it, maybe it's only the other musicians to look, and I've had this happen to me hundreds of times. Oh, that's pretty interesting. You get a good sound out of it. Okay, well, I'm not into Digitech, and I don't like it. I'll use Line 6, or, I'll use the Helix, and that's all great. That is all great. But the people who hire us, If you sound good, I'm going to tell you right now, they don't care what it is you're using, as long as you know you can pull a good sound. If you're happy and you look like you're entertaining, the crowd is getting into it, they're enjoying it. When they ask you to turn your volume down, you can turn your volume. There's no headaches. You're an easy person to work with. You sound good. You got good talent. You will get a lot of gigs. You will definitely get a lot of work. And you'll be surprised at what you could do out there. And then you'll be surprised at some of the people that you're going to run into these people. You just bite your tongue and just hold your cool. You know what I mean? Because we have gotten so many return gigs and gigs that spawned off of each other, not just by playing good and playing elegantly. That's another key. Being able to play elegantly. That's helped us in the fusion and in the classical guitar world, definitely. But it's also how we conducted ourselves. It really, that is huge, my friends, because no one wants to work with someone that's got a big ego. I don't care how good they are, because what's going to happen is it's only going to be a matter of time, and I don't mean long duration of time, a real short, like matter of days before they figure out, oh, this guy's hard to work with. Oh, I can't wait till we're done with him. You know what I mean? He's just too difficult. And then they'll start looking for somebody else. You know? And that's how life really is. Yeah. By passing the preamp and using the sims and effects into the effects loop to power amp. Now see, there's certain things you can do. Now, Digitech's RP1000 had this unique output setting that it allowed you to do that. I think Joe Winch from the Joe Winch Project, he's got the RP1000. I've got the 500, but the 1000's got more outputs that you could actually direct it into the effects loop of the cab, of the head. Run certain effects into the front. I thought it was great how they did that. But I think, the Helix has got a lot of ins and outs. Both models, because I know they got a more affordable model that takes all the amp sims out, which this is really cool. Because if you want to use your guitar amp, now you just got the amp. You got the effects, no amp sims. Now you could go right into your amplifier. The Digitech I'm using, you could pull out the amp sims. The Boss ME70, you could completely turn off the preamp. But you might get a little bit of leakage here or there, if you crank it up. It might be so minute if you're playing in a band, and if you can get through that sound, if you can get through that performance and you don't mind so much, it's better that you do that than you pull hair out of your head and you blow the gig, meaning you don't get the gig. If that's what people are really pushing for. Because you see, here's this debate. It's what you like, personal preference. And you don't even have to be a gigging musician. You're the one spending your money, You buy what you want. And I'll give everyone a thumbs up for that, because everyone's got that right to do what they want. You know what I mean? But if you ask me my advice, now you want to be a professional musician and what I should and shouldn't do, the first thing you should do is watch your spending. And my wife, she'll tell anybody that. And she's told people that. Just watch your spending. Don't try to be a big shot. Because this industry, its income is like this, my friends. It is so fluctuating. And if something were to happen that's serious, let's say your car breaks down. That's kind of serious there. How are you going to get to your next gig that's paying your bills? Well, I just bought this expensive guitar. I just had to have it. Oh, the amp was on sale. And I don't play anything less than $2,000, and I'm not knocking it. But you see, $2,000 for the guitar, $4,000 for the amp. There's $6,000 there. Let's say $1,500 for the effects unit. So you got $7,500 there, and then the car craps down en route to your next gig. And if you're doing cross country shows like we were doing, you better make sure your car is number one to fix. That you got your money for your car number one if something happens, because there's nothing that's gonna make you feel worse than you broken down on the side of the road And I don't mean to laugh at anybody because I'm not make fun of it, but this is one thing that people seem to forget about. When if you're a signed musician and you just got signed, just got on the bill to do a tour, you're the opening act. You better make sure you got enough money that you could take you from point A to point B, because you're the opening act. And if it's a festival, if you're the opening act, not on main stage but on second stage, that means chances are you'll be going on stage between 10 and 11 o'clock, depending on what time the show starts. That means chances are, if it's a Saturday, that means Friday people have been partying. That means they might come in around 12 o'clock. You'll get some people that come in the beginning of the festival, but don't be disappointed if not a whole. We're back. What I was saying is, don't be disappointed if a whole lot of people do not show up. And basically, what I mean is that, don't be disappointed if you don't make a lot of money on this at the specific beginning stages. So always have that backup plan, and therefore you watch what you spend, and that will mean including on your gear. So never let a person make you feel that you're less of a musician because you have less expensive gear, or your channel doesn't have a gazillion subscribers. When I watch people's YouTube channel, I watch for the content. If they got all these subscribers, that's fine, that's great. But if the content is not interesting to me, then it's for somebody else, not me. That's all. But you do have to be careful what you spend, because it is very challenging out there. It's a very saturated market out there. No matter where you go. Now, we just heard Guitar Hack. He mentioned, I think it was yesterday, about a gig that he did, and I was in a very similar situation. So if Guitar Hack sees this video, very, very similar situation where you got one person that's booking you, but there's another person booking somebody else. So then you go to get the gig and you're waiting for the call back, and this happened to us. Well, they didn't, they said, well, we'll have to check our calendar and we'll get back with you. So they didn't check the calendar, then all of a sudden, Old Man Dan, good morning, my friend. So what I was going to say, like what Guitar Hack was going through, is that you got two people doing two different bookings, no one's communicating and that. So if you got to take those other gigs, you take those other gigs, and then if the other person says, hey, I thought you were going to play, no, well, this is what the other person said. Try to get things in writing, Try to get things in writing. Especially if you can make this as the main source of income, my referee, always drop the contracts. Always. How about it, Deb? Yeah, it was always. So, let's see. So yeah, bypassing the effects loop. Running into the effects loop with the Digitech. Yeah, I've done that. And I'm thinking this, because I am not sure the Digitech has cabinet emulator. I don't. Now, it does have cabinet emulator. If you're going to be buying the RP360 XP, it does have cabinet simulators. Now, I would suggest this before anybody buys anything. If you could go to the music store itself and mess around with whatever gig, whatever gear you're looking at within your price range, because I'll tell you what's happening right here. I can tell you exactly on this specific patch. It is okay. Let me turn off the delay. So if everyone can hear that. So, I'll go to my amp, and my amp I call the Brown Sound, but we all know that's the Marshall. And the cabinet is 4x12 green, so it's the greenbacks. It's their version of what they think that sounds like, okay? Okay, now, let me show you what will happen when you do not choose, see your output settings. When you're going to run into a PA speaker, you got to make sure it's going to have, for the RP, it's called for the mixer output, because if you don't, this is what it's going to sound like. Okay, so here's now set for guitar amp. Could you hear that hissy sound? Okay, now when I call for the mixer, it cleans it up. Part of what is happening, why it has that hissy sound, is that any type of a PA speaker has a horn. There's tweeters in it. That's your highs. It's almost like it's clipping it. So that's why you have that setting on there. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, again, you have to really mess around with the amp simulators. You know, here's the good thing with YouTube. You see people with their in-depth demo on stuff like this. That's where you could find out. Now, something I've asked, and we'll see if anyone puts this up. I'm gonna go and call for my octave on the Digitech. On the you'll have this on the RP355 as well. A good friend out there, Metal X, he has the RP55, and it'll have the same type of setting. The RP360, whether you get the XP, which is the expression pedal, or without the pedal, it's going to have this setting. It's called Play Your Bass. And it is an octave divider, but it has very, very deep low end, where that if you had to do live looping, you could loop a bass pattern. So that's what I like about this. Not everybody's going to be doing corporate gigs or be hired out. I understand that. But I'm going to tell you one thing. A lot of us that have done those shows, that's where you're going to make your money without having to chasing stars or chasing pipe dreams or anything like that. You will definitely make money. And I think a lot of these manufacturers are starting to realize that there is another sector out there in music that exists, that these people are making good money. So if you make good money, you could afford good things, right? But again, we try to be smart with our spending, you know. Yeah, that is unbelievable. Yeah, you know what? It is. And again, you can get in and, you know, get it a little bit more if you want to do slap bass. It is, I'll tell you guys, it is just as strong as the bass patch on my on the Roland GR55 guitar synth. The only thing I could do with that is I could separate my strings. I could have my treble strings, they have no bass, and then my bass strings will have the bass. So if I'm arpeggiating a D minor chord in first position, let's say, you know, if I'm doing something like this, when I do my descending note on my D string, that'll have bass along with guitar. Whereas this will not get all messed up. So if you try to do that with the octave on, you'll see what I mean. It's gonna sound pretty bad. So you see what I mean? It just is too much. Let's see. The Viper. Now here's what's nice about this. Watchman. I think, yeah. The PV Viper has bass guitar sim for 6-string. Sounds pretty good too. Yeah, it does. Now I thought the Tone King did a demo on it where PV did have a guitar. You'd have to use their guitar in order to get that active. I could be wrong. But here's another thing that's good with the Viper. You could plug electric guitar in there. You could plug a bass guitar in there because it has bass simulator and it's ported. And then you could plug an acoustic guitar in there and it sounds really, really good, you know. The the Boss Katana, when it says acoustic on there, that's not an acoustic simulator. That is set so if you want to plug an acoustic guitar in there. I have personally not tried it. I've tried the Katana 50 with the electric guitar. I thought it sounded excellent. I have not tried it with an acoustic guitar or a bass guitar. When I do stuff with the acoustic guitar, I do use like right now I'm plugged into the Roland BA330, and it's basically a PA speaker, and so to give it more of a fuller range. So when I plug it into the electric guitar amp, it just, I mean, for my ears, it just doesn't. That's not my tone. But if a person wants to use that for their tone, hey, have at it. You know. Any guitar on repeat, or okay, that's good. Yeah, it's good to know. Then you can use any guitar. Yeah, variable instrument preamp. Yeah, that's why the VIP is. But I do know that the Tone King was playing a PV guitar. Maybe it's something to the effect that that guitar will do the detuning, and you have to have that. Sort of like how Line 6 had their Variax, you know? It's a great idea. It's a great idea for when you're in those situations that you don't have time or space really to drag a lot of stuff around. That's the whole point. It's when you have to drag a lot of stuff down around and then you have no room for it. The whole gigging world has come to a unique kind of a situation right now, you know. Now I know that the Zoom effects units will have built-in drums and looper that you could actually use them both together. Okay, not the other Viper models, just the VIP line. Okay, yeah, because I know their first edition of Viper was all right, was decent, but you know, the second versions I think are really good, man. And plus, I heard that it is an all analog circuit, meaning the amp stages, the distortions, it's all analog. Yeah, that's right. The PV had the auto tune. Yeah. What did you think? I mean, I'm not a real big fan of auto tune. You know, when the Gibson had that robot tuner, one of the guys that used to work at Guitar Center back in Naperville, Illinois, he said the problem with that robot tuner, for us guys that been playing for a long time, right away the guitar's in tune, we go for the tuner. But with the robot tuner, if you go to mess with the tuner, you knock it out of calibration, and then it's all screwed up. You know, it's pointless. Let's see, the Camelot guitar and the Gibson has locking tuners. The Camelot has the locking Spurzl. The Gibson has the locking Grovers. Personally, I could really do without those lockers. You know, it's just one more thing you got to mess with. And if you string your guitar up right and stretch the strings out, you know, it's good to stay in tune. Now, if you want to use those, I think that's great. Headley Scott, how you doing? Guitar tuners? Yeah. Yeah. No, they're not a tune. Exactly. Yeah, it does. Okay, that's good to know, Iron God. That's really good to know. Because, you see, if you're in situations where you don't have a whole lot of money to spend, you got to think smartly. And you got to think, okay, how much could I get out of this amp? And then, first and foremost is your personal preference, okay? So once your personal preference is out of the way, and now you could go out as a gigging musician, you can start to see what I mean by then you got to go out and buy this, then you got to buy that, then you got to get this, then you got to get that. And the average bar gigs are paying $100 a person. The corporate gigs will pay more. The higher end restaurants and clubs will pay more. When I play at Le Corte Bistro here in Cape Coral, they're very good to me, but I'm also playing classical guitar, so it's a totally different, and it's mostly for background music. Here's another thing to think about. How many of you guys out there would take a gig of just you playing background music and very quietly if you had to? How many people would really take those gigs? I got no problems with taking them personally because, I do have an interest in classical guitar playing, so for me personally, I could deal with it. And really, Nothing is more quieter than an electric guitar unplugged, right? You know, honestly, think about it. You can hardly hear it. Acoustic guitar, you bring the volume down, and I do have a sound, you know, a feedback killer, that little plunger I put in the hole, but it's still gonna resonate. You know what I mean? Okay, so yeah. You know what? You're right. The first version of the VIP amps, they had more amp sims than the new. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. If it's not intonation, all you're doing is tuning it. Yeah, to a tuner. Right. So I say, and I still have it somewhere. My old tuning fork, banging on my knee, sticking in my head, and just tune to my low E. And that's why you still see me and a lot of other guys out there do this, or because that's the generation we come from. You know, I've seen a video of Tommy Emmanuel playing at Guitar Town in, I think it's in Colorado, and he's up there with his acoustic guitar. He's tuning, and he says, "Yeah, you know, the tuner says it's in tune, but my ears say something else," and boom, because sometimes things get a little bit out of whack. You know what I mean? There's a band here playing Horseshoe Lounge. Yeah, $2,500. Now that's for the whole band, right? Which is great. I'm not knocking it. That's great. This is what it used to be. And how big is it? How big of a band is it? You know, just being curious. You know, and it's good that they're having bands. You know, but you'll see there's a lot of places that they're battling with the DJs. They don't know what they should do, and you know, and to be fair with a lot of these club owners, you know, they have a lot of overhead. You know, you could have some bad people, and I've already, you know, mentioned about those people and that. But the ones who are good, who they're stuck, they don't know what to do, and they're just trying to make their restaurant survive. The restaurant business, you know, the rate of failure is huge, my friends. It is one of the most competitive businesses, you know, next to entertainment. It really is, you know, because it's saturated. The Viper uses the same, Motorola shape. I see. As the Axe effects and Kemper amps. Now that, Watchman, that is real interesting to know. I'll tell you what. My wife met Mr. Peavy at one of the NAMM shows, and that's why he's always known as Mr. Peavy. Real nice guy, and real smart. His whole saying was he wanted to build gear for the working musician. And that statement alone, man, I'll tell you what, anyone that's been playing in the 80s, you'll remember the solo series. I know Ed Dana, another great guy to subscribe to his channel, Ed Dana. The Peavy Bandit, the Special 130, the Special Series, the Solo Series amps that came out in the 80s. If you were to tell people in the metal sector that the Peavy would be mainstream right along with Marshall and even at some point surpass Marshall as the voice of metal, everyone would laugh at you, man. The Peavies used to have the Scorpion speakers and the Black Widow speakers, and some of them sounded good, some of them not too good. You know, you had to mess with it a little bit, but for reliability's sake, those amps, man, would never break down. And it was just incredible. So you fast forward to, you know, the 2000s, and look what I refer to. I know Peavy with the 5150, and then they turned it into a 6505, and maybe they changed something slightly from the 6505, from the 150, the Peavy 5150, and then the Peavy Butcher amps, and we're back again. See? And what I was just saying, Peavy himself, you know, he's not going to let anyone knock him out of business. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody. You know, Peavy will always be around, providing that, you know, he wants to be around, and, you know, I think he's a very smart man. And it was real interesting. So people of our age, our good friend out there, Jim Dietrich, another guy who subscribed to this channel. You know, Jim and I, we're the same age. We both graduated high school in 1981, so kind of give you an idea, right? But we remember the 80s. We remember the PV amps. We remember the Lab series, the crate amps when they're shaped like crate boxes. We remember all this because this is what we had. And we had to make it sound good. We didn't have modeling amps. I think modeling amps are good if you're playing in a cover band. You got to do a lot of variations of different tones. But I think manufacturers be not too smart if that's all they shoot for. You know, there is another market that, hey, we still want our tube amps. We still want our sound. Zach Thong, how you doing, my friends? Good seeing you. It's always good seeing you. So I got to catch up with my chats here. Oh yeah, not Ron, Tommy Emmanuel. So, yeah, he's a great guitar player. I do the jazz lounge solo. Okay, yeah. 7 pieces, yep. Okay, yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing. If you have diversity as far as you're a diverse player, you know, you got versatile playing styles, you could get a lot of work, you know. But you got to enjoy it. That's just it. Because if people get a sense that you're not having a good time, you're not liking it, if your job is to get them to get into it, and you're not into it, you know, it's going to be really tough. It's like a used car salesman trying to sell you a car he doesn't like. You know what I mean? Or people at Guitar Center or whatever music store trying to sell you something that they don't like. And they put their opinions on it. So you gotta be wise enough to keep your opinions out. When I was teaching very heavily, I was able to pull my opinions aside. Don't want to rain on anybody's parade, my friends. I'll help them learn what they want, but I'll help them actually learn because that's what they need to do. You know, when we launch our online lessons pretty soon, here will be DB Guitar Jams. We'll help people be able to write their own music because one of the most important things to understand that it is definitely going to be the emotion. Your control over it, your knowledge, yes. But if there's no emotion to it, it's going to sound like a lecture at a college. And unless you want to go and watch a lecture at a college, chances are that's fine, okay? But when people go out, they want to have a good time, and especially if people want to watch music, and there's a certain emotion, you know, there's a certain style. Usually it's something emotional. They don't care about A minor flat at 7th or minor 13th. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm not knocking it because it does serve its purpose. Okay? But I'll help people understand this fretboard that it's going to make life so much easier, my friends. So much easier. You know, I'm not out to trying to show I'm better than anybody else because I'm not. I'm just me, you know. Yeah, or just open notes. I'm catching up. Southern Roots is the name 7 pieces. Okay. Okay, yeah. Just trying to catch up on some of the chats, yeah. Well, it's like our friend out there. Yeah, you know what? Watching people have always downed PV gear. But I'll tell you what. If PV gear wasn't that good, he wouldn't be around today, right? You see what I mean? It's an opinion. Everything, always remember this. And this could help people from letting themselves get sucked into feeling down, that they're not good enough. Everything's an opinion. Everything is an opinion. If you like what you're doing, I guarantee you're going to have somebody out there that's going to like it. Now, we've done a performance. This is a good analogy here. We've done performances back at the Borders bookstores up in Illinois when Borders was around. And there was one town in particular that it was so hard to get people to come out because the area where it was at, it was in a bad, I don't want to say it was a bad spot, but there's really no one around. So there are times it'd be like one or two people be out there, but I'd still play because I love to play, period. If you don't like to play, then, you know, that's a whole different ball game. If you're just doing it to try to get attention, then, you know, it might be a little bit rough for you. But if you just love to play because you love to play, people are going to sense it. So I'm over there playing, and we did our entire show, And the lady behind the counter, she commented to my wife, says, man, he plays like the place is packed. He's got passion. He got passion and a lot of drive, my friends. He got a lot of drive, you know. If you got passion and drive, you got something right there. I'll tell you that right now. Then the lady goes on and tells a story about another guy that played there, and he had like one or two people in the audience. He got so bored, he's like, oh, it's not packed. So he decides to turn around and look out the window while he's playing. Well, how do you know who these people are? Maybe they got a club. Maybe they're coming out to see exactly how well you really do. And then if they see you're not into it, they're going to think, well, I can't hire this guy. He doesn't look like he's into it. I'm not having a good time. He doesn't look like he's having a good time. I'm sorry. That's how it works, you know. Yeah, man, it's the EQ and the recording track that makes the sound. Yeah. Don't you find this strange, guys? I don't know how many of you have been in a recording studio where the guy will tell you, Pacer with the fuzz as well as, yeah, the PV Pacer. I remember that. But see, the PV, yeah, it had the saturation that was fuzzy distortion, unique, yeah. And then on the let's see, I think on the mid range or the high, you could pull. It said pull for thick. You get a little thicker sound. The solo series. I mean, what's the band? It was a solo series. The Special 130 had a mid sweep on the mid range, so he had a knob within a knob. You know. Well, I'm gonna watch my time here. Let's see. But so going into it just came here because Robert's Guitar Dungeon recommend. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, Jason. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, Robert's Guitar Dungeon. He's a great guy, man. Just having a little fun there. But how many of you been in a recording studio? Dry Heat, what's happening? Good afternoon. How you guys doing? I really appreciate you tuning in. Oh yeah, the Pacer was awesome. Hit that fuzz foot switch. Yeah. Oh yeah, 9 Fathoms. Oh, there's definitely a lot of them out there, my friend. You know. Let's see. I can say we never had any PV gear go down. Yeah. You know what? There was a guy that he actually traded in. Now this goes back in the 80s. He played in a cover band. He traded one of his Mesa Boogies in for a PV Bandit, and boy, did he get bashed. He said the Boogie's breaking down. The PV doesn't. So I get it. He said he got an EQ, a rack mount EQ, and he was able to get a close sound out of it. A sound that he was able to tolerate. But when you're a working musician, you're out there playing all the time. If you got so-called the best amp out there, but it's breaking down, right? And then you get one of the amps that people are just totally bashing, or any type of effect that people totally they're bashing, but it doesn't break down, and you could get a good sound out of it. Why should that matter? Because there's nothing worse than you telling a club owner that's going to pay you, well, I can't do the gig because I have to have this special amp. They're going to say, okay, bye. Who's next? That's exactly how it is out there. And I just find it just amazing that some of these people don't talk about this. You know, maybe they keep it hush-hush out there. I don't know. But that's why I tell people, buy what you could afford, and if it's reliable, use it. Absolutely use it, because you're going to see what I mean. You'll see exactly what I mean out there. And then when all this starts to happen, everything that people have told you that, no, you have to this and you have to that, all that goes flying out the window. Because now you're looking at the guy that's signing the front of your paycheck, and he's going to look at you saying, well, where's all this expensive? How come this guy that I had last week has got so-called cheap stuff that everyone's been talking about, but he gets the job done? I could rely on him. That's what I mean, my friends. You'll see. Jim Geachert, how are you, my friend? Good, always good seeing you. I got the PV Classic 20. Yeah, that's a nice amp. That is a real nice. The head, oh yeah. What's nice with that, I think it's the mini head, right? So if you don't have it plugged into a cabinet, you could still go direct because there's a switch that takes the load off. Because if you don't, back in the day, if you didn't plug into a cabinet, there goes the transformer. You know what I mean? Everything starts to crap out. Yeah. But so let's see. Then after that, the backstage 30s with the yeah. You can change PV speaker. Yes, yes, you can. The Scorpion speakers, you're able to take out the voice coil, change it out. Even on the Black Widows too. Keep the speaker basket and just change the cones and the diaphragm. That's right. On the CD tweeters, if they blow other speaker companies, you can't do that. I'll tell you, when you're in a situation and stuff happens out there, my friends, that was brilliant that PV came up with that idea. That really was. Yeah, we're going to do our live gig tonight, my friends. Yep. Follow Fish, what's happening? Yep, we are definitely going to be going live tonight. When I worked Godsmack. Oh, nice. They had boxes of PV. May says for change and change them out. Yeah, that's really interesting. And it started to sag. Oh yeah, when you gotta do a lot of driving. And like I said, a lot of bands had the PVs because they were just reliable. And again, I'm not endorsed by anybody. So there's something magical there. You're like what you call a free agent. You could really speak your mind and say what really works, what doesn't work, you know? And that's just how that is. But what I was going to say about anyone's been in a recording studio, I had this guy tell me, Dave, you got to put fresh strings on. Now, I understand you don't want to go in there with strings that sound like when they're dirty. You know what I mean? I mean, they're just black and there's no tone, and maybe that's when you start noticing the tuning really starting to slip a little there. You know what I mean? So you got to have fresh strings. And this one guy tells me, no, put them on just before. So that means if I wake up this morning, this afternoon, I'm going to the studio, put the fresh strings on. Yes, put fresh strings on. But anyone knows when you put new strings on, you got to stretch them out. And everyone knows that if you're tight for time, you might not have the time to stretch them out thoroughly. So you get to the studio, then all of a sudden, as soon as you hit go, then the clock is going like this. And there's nothing worse than you're in the studio doing this, stretching out, wasting time. So what I did was, it was, I think it was about a week or so. I can't exactly remember exactly, but it wasn't that day that I put those strings on. Made sure they stretch out. Maybe it was a few days within a week. So anyways, I tell the guy, he asked me, Dave, did you put new strings on? I said, yep, put them on today. Or last night. Yes. I'm on there playing. Yes, I could tell. I could tell right away. He had supersonic Mr. Spock ears, by the way. And I'm thinking, you're BSing me, because I know it wasn't yesterday I put them on. It was last week I put them on. And you got all this expensive gear. Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. Here's how these people work. And that's how they suck money out of you. That's why I kind of talk against people like that, because I know what their game is. And you're paying for the baby grand piano that's sitting in the room because he's leasing that piano. Once you find out what's really going on, my friends, then your eyes open up and you're like, this is BS, man, you know? I'm going to do things my way. And as long as you're not out to rip people off, you're not out to con people, you're just being you, you're being real, You're going to have some people that are going to like you. You're going to have some people that are not going to like you. That's life. Don't worry about it. But people will respect you more if you if you're a straight shooter. They're going to respect you more. They definitely will respect you more. So I know there'll be people out there that might be a little bit nervous when they first do let's say their first video. I'll never cut a person down for that, man. No, I won't cut a person down really for anything. The only thing I ever say bad, if it's deemed as bad, is these con artists that run around trying to take advantage of people. Soda Pop, what's happening, man? Uncle Dave. Yes, my friends, we will be going live tonight. I tuned down so I can get using bigger strings. Oh yeah, you do get it. Yeah, Janice, how are you? Good seeing you. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate that. On this, I do have. I think I think they are 12s, and I got it tuned down just one whole step. Now, I did an experiment on the Gibson. Usually I put 11s in standard tuning, but nice, thank you. I did put 10s on the Gibson just to see how well, and the reason being is I have 9s on here, and the only reason why I think the 9s are working on it is because it's long scale. It doesn't feel, my picking doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. Doesn't feel like it's just going to be wobbling like rubber bands. So I thought, well, let me put 10s on the Gibson so I can have some sort of a balance, because my hand got so strong I started just popping strings left and right, and I was like, oh man, that's not good, So I want to catch up on my chats here. Yes, Mr. Soda Pop. Now, okay, here's one of the advantages before I'm going to get ready to get going here, my friends. We will be doing a live gig tonight at 7 p.m. But before we do that, I'm going to explain to you, this is another reason why I'll run everything into the PA. And I'll show you what I mean by you could actually create a live band sound with this. And I'm not trying to put bands out of business, trust me. I love playing in bands, But this is your advantage. Got the built-in drums. So by having a full range PA, you get nice bottom end for the kick. So you see what I mean? Just right off there, live, right on the fly. And I've been in so many situations where we'd get hired, then they ask us to stay an extra hour or whatever, then all of a sudden you got to pull all this out of your head. If you're a creative person, my friends, and you can improvise, you'll see what I mean, what you could get out of this. And it's never let me down. And again, I'm not knocking anything else, but I'd love to see all this high-end expensive gear do exactly what I could get out of this. I always like to go by the saying, is if you could get more by spending less, you'll always win. You will always come out ahead. I hope that does help people out there. And thank you so much, guys. It just, from so many years and years and years, everything evolves. It keeps moving forward. And the more you do things, the better you get at. Plus, I always say, to me, music is a gift from Almighty God, and I never take it for granted. I never wanted to misuse it to say I'm better than anybody else, because I just think that's just flat out stupid. We're all human beings. I put my drawers on one leg at a time like everybody else, man. But it's having the ability to have a creative mind and seeing what you could do with these things, If you always look at the positive out of things, you'll always come out with ideas. You know what I mean? You'll see there's something useful out of everything. Even when I watch people, even if they're beginners, I'll watch them play and I'll see something. I don't really want to watch for mistakes, because hey, I make mistakes too, I'm only human. But they're going to be doing something that will inspire me, because it's their perspective on looking at that chord progression, if that makes sense, So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and answer some of these questions before you. Okay, what is that? Maybe are you asking what I'm using? What I'm using, Janice, is a Digitech RP360XP ran into the stereo Jamman loop pedals. That's exactly what I'm using. Real simple gear. You'd be surprised how simple it is. MGB, what is happening? What's using name? What equipment? Soda Pop. Again, it's the Digitech. In fact, maybe I could show you guys if I could turn the camera down here. It's real simple. You guys probably laugh if you see how simple it is. It's nothing super spectacular. Okay. Can you guys see? Of course, my big fingers are going to cover. I don't know if I could do this, guys, because my wife, she's able to do, turn the camera. She's real good at that. Yes, there it is right there, minus my cord into the phone. Real simple. We got 4 of these blue loop pedals because we don't know what's going on with Digitech as it stands. The black pedal is the RP360XP. The foot switch over here is I could go up and down the patches, and then individually here I could turn on and off my effects. So it's really nothing. Maybe I should unplug this. What do you think, guys? I don't know what's going to happen. There, see? It's going to make a mess. Real simple. It is very, very simple setup. And I run it right into the Roland powered PA system. Now, yesterday I had it into the Harbinger. So that's basically what it is. And if I were to add up, thank you, Watchman 4 is the Looping King. Thank you so much, buddy. It's, again, just to get used to it. Yeah, Jim Geecher does rock. Jim Geecher and his son Alex doing the Docking songs. Yeah, I love that stuff. Meaty loops, yeah. You really get a lot of good stuff. Jimmy T, what's happening? Thank you so much. At least the drummer will stop playing when you tell him. Yeah, Soda Pop, yep. Oh, man. I really feel bad for drummers, man, because of what's going on. But at the same time, they could take advantage of YouTube and sell their drum patterns, them playing drums and people using it if they wanted to do that. I don't know if any drummer out there would take this statement seriously, but with all the advancement of electronic drums, if a drummer wanted to go out there to do a solo show, really put on a unique show, they would, if I were a drummer, I'd look at these electronic drums, see what kind of creativity I could pull out of them, and just try to give it a shot and see what would happen. Because when it comes down to it, it's still part of entertainment. And if you got any type of an entertaining show, people will watch it. Look at the Blue Man Group. They're banging on. They got a unique show, but part of their show is they're banging on PVC pipe. So you know what I mean? If you're a creative person, you'll be able to pull what you want out of life, right? Yeah. Well, thank you, bravo, thank you, Watchman 4. I really appreciate it. Don't worry, man. See, you can't type on touchscreens. Yeah, it's real hard. I'm very slow with that. Yeah, it's the 360. Now, this is called the 360 XP only because of the expression pedal. So, real simple setup. And here, if I could zoom in on when you go to set the settings. Let's see if I could do this here. So, I know the screen. I hope it doesn't get washed out. I don't know if you guys can see it. That's kind of messed up. You'll go for amp to mixer. So I always have it set for the mixer. Get out of that. Sorry about that, guys. But what's nice with these, you could do SD card or internal. There's your loop up, loop down, start, stop, overdub. And I've got this going into here and then this going into here. So I could do two different types of looping if I want. And, oh, you're looking at the 55. Yeah, the 55. Go ahead and see. Check that out, Janice, because you see, here's what you could do. What I just did, I'm able to do out of this. And then I'm able to loop everything. This will have a looper, but the thing is you can either use the looper or use the drums. That's the only difference. So that's why I have a separate loop pedal. So I could do drums, guitar, and then come back, put it in a looper, and then lay down bass, put it in a looper, and then boom, good to go. So that right there is, yeah, extreme close. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't want to do that. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah, the way the screen is. Yeah, it's quite a sub. Yeah, Jimmy T. And you know what? It's really not that expensive. And this is exactly what I'm using with the backing tracks and everything. That's why you'll see me. I'm able to go up and down on the flyer when we're doing RUI. And Michael will say, yeah, number 38 in that union handbook. He's referring to my patch number where I have the loop at. And, like right here. Now, I did not save this loop. If you watch the replay on this is what I opened up with. And, of course, I played over it. Now, all of that came right out of the Digitech. So you see what I mean? It's not that it's really not that difficult. And I mean, I've got other drum machines if I had to use them in that. I had the drum problem last night. Yeah. Yeah, it's real simple, and it's like bam, right on the fly. You know what I mean? Because that. So we're live again. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see. I have a couple comments I'm gonna read before we gotta get going. Oh, Guitar Hack, how you doing, buddy? I checked price on both of those loopers. Yeah, I mean they're I wouldn't say they're expensive. I think right now you get them for $250, you know. But out of all the loopers out there, you know, the Boss, I think it is what, the RC300. You get a lot of cool stuff out of there. But for the same amount of money, you could get two of these, and you could just expand on it, and you really do have more options. If you had to do a 5-hour set, you could definitely do it with this thing. Just one Jam Man stereo and a SD card. You could definitely do a whole you could do 5-hour set if you needed to. You use the Yamaha DD11. Nice. Yamaha makes some great stuff. They really do. So I'm trying to catch up. Johnny Bean, what's happening? I know you're out there, my friend. Really appreciate it. Guitar Hack, how you doing, buddy? Got to trim the bushes. Yeah, I got some work around the house I need to do too before we go live tonight at 7 p.m. We'll do our live gigs. I'm going to be featuring one of our good YouTubers out there, American Devil. He's got a killer song called Throwback. And we'll do some of Jim Dietrich's stuff too as well, man. But yeah, American Devil, I love that song. That's just totally rocking. And again, guys, if you have any originals, I really stress on the originals because of the whole situation with copyright infringements and all that. Yeah, I have Kiss questions for you now. Yeah. What's really nice with featuring originals, it shows what you guys could do. We all know what everyone's doing out there, but you guys, I'm always for helping the little guy out, so to speak, little guy. I don't like using that term because the little guy always gets the shaft, right? Help the underdogs, right? So, anyways, my friends, we will be live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate all you guys' support and you guys tuning in. And again, if you have any originals, just send them out in the comments and say, hey, check out this video, and boom, I can load it up in my loop pedal, and we're good to go. Until tonight, my friends, always keep things real. We desire to inspire everybody, help each other out. That's what it's all about, my friends. Hold the doors of opportunity open. Always help people out. Until tonight, my friends, you guys totally rock out there. God bless you, and we'll see you tonight. Take care and rock and roll, my friends. Discord ding, you got it, buddy. Take care, my friends. We'll see you tonight. God bless you.